back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and I have with me Ms. Caroline Smith. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
I need to tell you a little bit about this amazing woman. So Caroline graduated cum laude from Pacific Lutheran University in Tacoma with a bachelor's in English literature, a minor in publishing and printing arts. Born and raised in Atlanta, she was very glad to return home to her roots upon graduation and found an immediate home as a senior editor for a local publishing company. She is now an author coach and executive director for Tandem Press, a postmodern publisher, which we will be talking about. I lost my space. Here we go. Her current editorial areas of expertise as executive editor include line editing and developmental editing, as well as manuscript critiques for all genres. In the last 3 years, she has edited over 200 manuscripts and is an award-winning editor with an author who won a 2014 IPBA Ben Franklin Award for Excellence in Editorial and Design. Her literary specialties include 17th and 18th century British literature, poetic and literary criticism, and Southern literature and literary criticism from antebellum and postmodern. She currently resides in the picturesque mountains of North Georgia with her 2 daughters and son. Welcome.
Thank you. That was a mouthful.
It was, but it was all good. I tend to try to edit it down a little bit, but this was like, well, it's all good. So, we'll keep it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So you joined us recently.
I did.
So, we talked a lot about the writing aspect of publishing, and we even looked at writing, how it can be therapeutic and,
Yes.
and that kind of thing. So today we're going to be looking a little bit more at the overall industry, how that operates, how you can tell what the scams look like,
Yes,
and
exactly.
those kinds of things. And so, so we're really going to delve into that today. But I want to start with the first big question, and big question, and that question is, what is the biggest misconception that people have about the modern publishing industry?
Oh,
I know it's a big question.
That is a big question. I think the biggest misconception really is that people are instantly going to be famous and that they're going to be picked up immediately by a publisher.
Right.
And they're going to get that is not really how this industry works. If you're famous,
right,
or you have something already going on for you, then sure, that probably is how it works.
Yeah.
But for the most part, that's really not how it works. And I think along with that, we have a lot of people who saw the success of 50 Shades of Grey, who was a self-published book, and then got picked up by Random House and became an overnight success.
Right.
And so they kind of have that in their minds too, that they might go use a small publisher or self-publish and then be picked up by a big company. And the reality of that is just not. That's kind of one of those myths of publishing these days.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I noticed that the big publishers are doing is that they are creating their own sort of a self-publishing arm.
Yes.
And so I've noticed that, I think Penguin might be one of them, where you can go and publish your book with us, and so what's going on with that? I mean, they're feeling threatened by the little...
I think they want to catch the wave.
Yeah.
I think they realize that as a traditional publisher, when you have companies like Amazon and you can go upload your book and make your own cover and have a book almost instantaneously.
The same day, yeah.
Yes. That a lot of the big 5 did feel threatened, and they've even condensed down now to the big 4.
Yes, yes.
And
it was 7, wasn't it?
Yes.
So it's now 4.
Yes. And some of them have merged, and they've taken each other over, or what have you. But these big publishing companies that were really kind of the powerhouses of books just don't really exist that way anymore. So in order to still get a piece of that puzzle, they have this kind of self-publishing or vanity press or whatever you want to call it, kind of extension that they're doing. And I think that they still make themselves relevant in those ways.
Right.
And you as an author then have that name attached to you as well.
Right, absolutely.
So that gives you some credibility too.
Yeah, wow. Well, I mean, that's really, and it's interesting because there was a time when paying to get your book published was extremely stigmatized, and I was one of those people who very much frowned upon that whole thing. And so we're going to go to trending topics, but I would definitely love to talk about the shift that's happened in the industry with regards to paying for your own books to get
Yep,
published. So,
absolutely.
but first, trending topics.
Primary election. Lack of diversity. Gas prices.
Michael Jeff's trending topics.
Okay, so the first one they're both very interesting. So, and I think that they both they're interesting because they both have race implications with them. So the first one is a potential boycott of the upcoming Marvel superhero movie Black Panther. Have you heard about that? Okay, so apparently
Excited about the movie.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited about the movie, and a lot of people are. And so there has been this rumor going around that started on Twitter that black women are boycotting Black Panther, and I'm not, but the rumor is because Michael B. Jordan, who is one of the main characters in the movie, is dating a non-black woman. And I think she's Latina. And so there was this attempt to create an outrage among black women to say, well, since he doesn't like black women, we're not watching the movie. It is fake. It was a rumor, and it was created by somebody who has a fake account with 2 followers.
Oh, my goodness.
Who decided to say, we are boycotting Black Panther. It is not true, you guys. So this whole story is being shared and like, oh, that's an outrage, and like people are falling for it. There's no boycott of Black Panther.
Well, that's good news because I saw yesterday that Black Panther has sold more pre-sale tickets than any other Marvel movie in history.
What?
Yes.
Wow. Yay!
I have been a fan of the comics for a long time, so I'm really, really excited to see how they translate this to screen. So.
I love it. I'm so excited about it. There's just been so much hype around it. And
Yes.
and there have been a lot of women who have responded and said, Psh, whatever, I'm watching it. So no, you guys, there is not this collective effort to boycott. We don't care who he dates. We just celebrated Prince Harry getting engaged to, what's her name? Meghan Markle. And that's an interracial relationship. We're not tripping. It's okay. So, so that was the first one. The second one is Oprah. All right. So there's been a lot of controversy around Oprah. You know, people love her, people hate her. She's the devil. She's, she's not really a Christian. She's, hobnobbing with all of the sexual predators. Everything you can think of has been coming to light ever since her, what I consider a phenomenal speech at the Golden Globes. Even that speech has come under fire because when she brought up Reese, and I cannot remember her last name, but the woman who was sexually assaulted, who was brutally raped during Jim Crow era, her bringing that up really upset some people because they felt like that is not a comparison to what's happening in the workplace. And for her to try to conflate those two issues, people are really, really upset about that. On the other hand, there's a lot of people like Oprah for president. And so it is an interesting dynamic that's going on with the debate around Oprah Winfrey. But when we come back, we'll talk just a little bit about that, but then we'll get back into publishing. So stay with us.
No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
Probably? It's been 23 minutes since I ate. I can probably swim.
You should wait 30 minutes.
Okay, now tell me what to do. Cannonball! Cramp! Oh, I have a cramp.
I can probably hit the green from here.
Probably.
Can I get a mulligan?
Ready to go?
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sober. Yeah, I'm probably okay.
Probably okay isn't okay, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. If you're drinking, call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on the vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Vince Lombardi once said that it's hard to be aggressive when you're confused. Some of us think that taking our lives to the next level, both personally and professionally, is a confusing and complicated process. Guess what? It's not, and I can prove it. My book, True truisms will show you how living your life by rules that are so self-evident and obvious, you'll say, I knew that. This powerful yet short, detailed bestseller is on sale right now, under $10. Go to michaelmcfadden.com. That's michaelmcfadden.com, and let truisms help you to the next level.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You know, you're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me, whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextsstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela. So just before the break, we were talking about Oprah, and I'm just dying to hear Caroline's view on it. So I just drag it on past the break and bring it right on into the beginning of the segment. But I'm curious. I mean, did you happen to see her speech?
I did.
I
did. I think she's amazing. Mm-hmm. But I think she was looking for a comparison for things that are relevant for her, and that she would also think were relevant for other people of her age. And kind of, you can't, you know, it's hard to always find the right connection. And I think people are going to criticize you no matter what.
Yes.
Just like the 3 women who wore red or colored dresses to the Golden Globes instead of black.
Yeah.
And now they're, you know, all over everywhere being shamed basically for not doing that. But it's basically, she was trying to find a comparison to something that she was familiar with, that she experienced or didn't go through directly, but something of her time period.
Yeah.
And so I think that making that connection is not something that we need to be like, oh my God, Oprah is never allowed on television ever again. But, you know, any press is good press, right? And she's back in the news again.
Yeah.
But I heard she lost her house yesterday in the mudslides in California.
I saw a picture of that. Yeah, my goodness.
But yeah, Oprah for president. That's what I say.
So I struggle with that because I think Oprah is getting so much done as just a private citizen. I want her to be, I feel like her hands are going to be tied if she's president. And,
That's
you know,
possible.
I think she would be amazing. I do.
Let's
But
give her a cabinet position.
I feel like she should just be able to live in her house with her dogs and just be happy.
If that's what she wants.
If that's what she wants. Yeah, and that's the big question is, what does she actually want?
Right.
And there's a lot of speculation around that. So, you know, who knows? But I do also think that she was trying to bring in the Black woman experience to Me Too, because there's been a lot of controversy about whether or not it's a white woman's movement and a feminist movement, and it doesn't integrate the experiences of Black women. And I think that there is an opportunity to integrate the experiences of women of all different backgrounds.
But also men.
And men. And I was getting at, that was about to get there too. Anytime I've seen a man attempts to use the Me Too hashtag, he is just slammed for it. And I think that our men have been through a lot, and they are, you know, and to have to be silenced no matter who you are, no matter how rich you are, no matter how male you are, you know, no matter what your sexuality is, that to have to go through assault and harassment, and then be silenced about it, I think that shouldn't be okay.
Well, I think, you know, Corey Feldman has kind of been the male voice of that. But again, that kind of does make it seem like it's a white male and white female issue.
Yeah.
But he wasn't taken seriously for forever. Right. So I think it's just going to be about more people coming out and speaking and having a voice, or even having a representative for the voiceless, for all of those demographics. Because this is not confined to race or gender.
No, it's not.
On any level.
Or career, you know, and I love and appreciate that Oprah mentioned, you know, women working in all areas of, you know, of professionalism. I mean, in academia, in retail, I mean, everywhere. It's everywhere. Right. So I just think that we really need to broaden our perspective about what the face of sexual assault is, and be willing to embrace those stories.
Agreed.
But so before we talk about publishing, we are going to talk about publishing because it is in the research, but that is what we're going to get into now, is the research.
In the interest of science,
All right, so the research is brought to you by Red Door Consulting. Red Door Consulting is a boutique management consulting firm, and it prides itself as an innovative leader in brand development. It's an organization led by an amazing woman who practices what she preaches about the image and the importance of putting forth an image that is going to best represent your company. So Red Door Consulting, check them out at www.reddoorconsulting8.com. So this article actually comes from Writer's Digest. Writer's Digest has all kinds of really great resources, and this one was written by Gabriela Pereira, and she did a TED Talk on this particular topic, and this is basically 3 myths that hinder creativity and how to conquer them. And so, in other words, we could say how to overcome writer's block, or how to, even become an even more creative writer. And so she has 3 different myths that she talks about that hinders creativity. And I don't know if you've heard of these, but one of them is the velvet rope myth. Heard of that?
I don't think so.
The second one is polish it until it's perfect myth.
Yes.
That's self-explanatory. And the other one is the big idea myth. So I'm going to go through what each one of these are. The first one, the velvet rope myth. It's the notion that writing is an insider's club and that you're not one of the cool kids. It's the belief that your writing might not be smart enough, literary enough, or good enough to be publishable. I suffer from this syndrome. I do. Because when I write, I'll write and then I'll shift to the book of one of my rock stars, like Brene Brown or Parker Palmer, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't quite sound like theirs. And then, it's a hindrance.
Yep.
So that's one of them. You have anything to say about that, or should I? Is a polish it until it's perfect myth. Okay, this myth is a doozy because on the surface it might actually seem like a good idea. I'm a firm believer in the pursuit of excellence. So if we want to reach our publishing goals, shouldn't we polish it until it's flawless? The problem with this myth is when writers get hung up tinkering with the minute, and they get caught up in the minute and never share their work with the world ever. How many of you have stuff sitting around, manuscripts just sitting there, things that you've written, poems that you haven't touched, that have not gone anywhere? And then the last one is the big idea myth. Just like when we polish our writing ad nauseum, many writers often struggle with waiting for that one big idea, that one epic concept that will make their writing dreams come true. Well, as writers, our currency is our words, not our ideas. And until a story is on the page, it doesn't even exist. So these myths are actually very damaging, and they hinder our progress. And when we come back, we're going to delve into those a little bit more. So stay with us.
Hi, I'm Viola Davis. Did you know that 1 in 5 kids in America struggle with hunger? Growing up, I was one of those kids. But we can solve this. When we make breakfast happen for kids in our neighborhood, we have the power to end childhood hunger, create bigger, brighter school days, and healthier minds and bodies. Go to hungeris.org and lend your time or your voice.
We're hungry for more.
A message from the Albertsons Companies Foundation and the Entertainment Industry Foundation.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it, and it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and He guides us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
Great leaders aren't born,
They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
I'm more resourceful than I thought.
My suit can still make an impression.
My video games are still game changers.
And my lamp can bring others a bright future.
Because when I donate my stuff to Goodwill,
it helps fund job placement and training for people right in my community.
Now my stuff gets a second chance.
And will give someone in my community
a second chance too.
Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. That's goodwill.org. This message brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
If you're looking for that ratchet, you're in the wrong place. It's the nation's urban internet station, Sensation Station Network.
Hey, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and we were just in the research talking about three myths that hinder our creativity, and it was the velvet rope myth. I can't even remember now. Where is it? It was the velvet rope myth, it was the big idea myth, and it was the polish it until it's perfect myth. So I'd love to hear, as an editor, what your thoughts are on these.
I think every author that I've ever worked with has suffered from one or all of these at some point.
All of them.
There's definitely this idea that I'm not as good as they are, whomever it is that you're, looking up to.
Right.
But, you are your own voice, and they have their own voice.
True.
And you don't need to be them. You need to be you. And so trying to be someone else, just like striving for perfection, is something that you just don't do. Be you.
I hear some self-worth stuff that's in that.
And there's a lot of authenticity in that too.
Okay.
Instead of trying to sound like or be like someone else, because I guarantee you Brene Brown probably sounds like that because of her editor. Not always.
Yeah.
Or not her in
and
particular.
And her whole thing is authenticity.
Right.
So she is very candid about her insecurities.
Yes. And people have them, and that's why editors exist.
Right.
As far as the big idea, I will say that there are no unique ideas anymore.
Okay.
So waiting for lightning to strike or inspiration to strike is kind of just an exercise in defeat. Because, you can have your own unique idea, but really pretty much everything's been done, which is why Hollywood keeps recycling the same movies or finding books that need to be turned into movies. Nobody really, everything's been done, something about it exists somewhere probably. And with which is great. But then you spend so much time going back and checking things that you're stalling yourself out.
Yeah.
So it's like the self-fulfilling prophecy of never being able to get it done because you're constantly going over it again.
Right.
So it's like you have to find the sweet spot of perfection where you're happy with it, but understand that you can always go back and make changes if you want to.
Especially
if you
nowadays.
publish it. Right, with digital publishing.
Yeah.
You can publish it, and if you find something that makes you unhappy, do it again,
right.
Or do it volume 2, or do a second version or a 7th version, or what edition.
Right.
So you can always kind of go back and tweak things here and there, but it's definitely an issue that I think really does handicap people and really prevents them from moving forward with the process because they're so stuck in fixing it or constantly re-editing the same 2 or 3 chapters that they've written, and then they never get to the rest of the book.
Right.
So they can't even finish the manuscript.
Interesting. So you have two extremes. You have those who are like, yep, let's go ahead and print this crap, and it is
read through the
truly
whole
crap,
thing,
and it's like really a terrible book. Like you didn't do any editing at all, and so we've got that extreme.
Yes.
And then we've got those who are just so OCD about their book, myself, that they just
at least you get through drafts.
I do.
So that's good.
I do, and I have evidence of that.
Yes, but a lot of people just get stuck in I wrote this chapter, now I have to go back and reread it and fix it. Do not do that. That's the biggest thing that's going to hinder your success is continuing to go back. Again, that's why editors exist.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be perfect by the time you're ready to let it go. Let it go and let an editor help you or let someone else do that and help you make it polished and perfect.
So there's, to me, and I'm here, and then kind of coming back again, is there seems to be some level of inner work that has to be done in order to be able to release the book.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's really true. And really that also comes into play when, you think about people putting the book out in public.
Yes.
And so they'll say, well, I've never let anyone read the book before. And that's always kind of a red flag to me, because if you haven't wanted anyone to read the book, then what are you going to do when 1,500 people read the book?
Yes.
And how are you going to respond?
And have feedback for you.
Right, exactly. How are you going to respond to that feedback and what they're saying, good, bad, or indifferent about your book? So you have to also come to that point of being ready to put it out in public. It can't be a secret anymore. And I would even encourage aspiring writers that we have now to go ahead and let somebody else read it. If you've only done a chapter, go ahead and put it in front of somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you've done 15 chapters, put it in front of somebody else and let them see and start to get that feedback. But like I said on the last show, make sure that it's someone that is familiar with the genre that you're writing in.
That's so important.
Because you don't want to just give it to your mom and,
Yeah.
and she doesn't read the types of books that you want to write.
Right.
And then she's like, well, sure, I liked it. and I
that's
would
what
even
Mom will
say, exactly, even go so far as to get a review sheet from them. Or like, what did you like about the book? What did you not like about the book? What did you like about the chapter? What did you not like about the chapter? What could I do better?
Right.
And give it to someone that you trust to be honest with you, that you know you can take that feedback.
And you have to ask, what did you not like about it?
Yes.
Don't just ask, what was good? What did you like?
All writers have strengths and weaknesses.
Yes.
And
yes.
so do editors.
Right. Yes. And so, and it's interesting because that's exactly the process that I'm in right now. I would think that the genre of the book that I'm working on is kind of more in the New Thought, self-help kind of arena. And so I know somebody who's very much into all of that stuff. Like, and we're talking like people who sit on the couch with Oprah, like kind of conversations, like,
Right.
So we can easily engage in that kind of conversation. So I asked him to read it. And what I will like very happily say is the first thing he said is, he texted me, he said, I am enjoying the hell out of this book. And I'm like, yes. But then he said, but let's talk about some gaps.
Right.
So, and that's exactly what I asked him to read for.
Yeah.
Gaps. Because I know my stuff, but I don't know what where I'm talking, and I just kind of jump to something else because I already know it, you know?
Right.
So as soon as he's done, then I'm going to pass it on to my editor. But that's, but I like the idea of being able to have somebody else read it and go over it before. So, okay, we're going to come back, and I promise you, we're going to talk about the publishing industry. So stay with us.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No. Sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have
Ta-da! Twinsies!
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Great leaders aren't born. They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
With Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela.
All right, so this week's Balance Challenge. Ladies, writers, where ladies came from. Ladies and gentlemen, writers, people out there who write books, people who like to write. Study your craft. That is your challenge for this week. I want you to study your craft. Before I put any book out there, now I am a polish it until it's perfect kind of person, but before I put any book out there, I immersed myself in the industry. I wanted to understand the industry. I wanted to understand the craft of writing. I wanted to understand the craft of my genre. So I did a lot of things to make sure that I understood the craft. So this week, I want you to do something that is going to allow you to immerse yourself in the craft of writing. So here's some ideas. Learn the story of your favorite author. You know, who is it that you love? What was their journey? A lot of times they didn't get published the first time that they tried. And so what was their journey? Join a writer's group. I was a member of several writers' groups, including a sci-fi fantasy writers group, because I one day want to write a sci-fi fantasy book. So it was really awesome to hear, because what they'll do is they'll read to each other, and it's really awesome to hear. Attend a conference. There's a writers' conference coming up in Milwaukee.
I wonder where.
Yes, it's called Write, Pitch, Publish. And then we're having a workshop right here in Georgia for authors or writers. It's called Write That Book This Year, and that is coming up on the 20th and the 27th. So yes, attend a conference or workshop. Commit to reading an article per week. And Writer's Digest is a great source. Go to Writer's Digest. They have all kinds of articles. Read a book in your genre that you've never read. Take a class at a local community college. What, do you have any other?
No, I love all of those.
Yeah. And I've done all of them, and they've all been very helpful. So find a way to immerse yourself, study the craft. Another one was, and I don't think I have it here, is to join a residency. And a lot of people don't know about these, but these are places that you apply to, you get accepted, and you spend a certain amount of time there. And your goal or your purpose there, your mission is to write while you're there and to share your work, possibly with local communities and that kind of thing. There's one that I've applied to several times that like the bigwigs have been a part of, which is the McDowell residency, and I haven't been accepted yet, but I'm going to keep applying because it just seems like a really phenomenal experience to be a part of this community of writers whose only purpose is to be there to enhance the craft of writing.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, probably my favorite one on that list is to read a book in your genre. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is you want to be an expert in your field, but if you don't know necessarily how to convey that, editors can help you, yes, but they can only do so much for you. So if you have no idea how to write dialogue, study how to write dialogue, because it's not easy, number one.
Right.
And I have a lot of novice authors who do a lot of he said, she said for dialogue markers, and that's appropriate for a children's book, but it's really not appropriate for an older audience.
Yeah.
So study those things, and where you have weaknesses, understand what they are, accept them, and grow from there.
And that's great. And the dialogue thing is such a great example, because a lot of people do struggle with how do I write dialogue. That's just anyway, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it, and it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and He guide us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
Vince Lombardi once said that it's hard to be aggressive when you're confused. Some of us think that taking our lives to the next level, both personally and professionally, is a confusing and complicated process. Guess what? It's not, and I can prove it. My book, Truisms, will show you how living your life by rules that are so self-evident and obvious, you'll say, I knew that. This powerful yet short, detailed bestseller is on sale right now, under $10. Go to michaelmcfadden.com. That's michaelmcfadden.com, and let Truisms help you to the next level.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, and father of 5. I'm also an expert on drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids, and there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org.
And lead the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
And so a new American industry has been born.
Sensation Station Network.
Good morning. Is it still morning?
It's still morning.
Still morning.
For
so
now.
I can say that. And welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and I am sitting here with Caroline Smith, who is the executive editor for Tandem Light Press. And we're talking publishing, and one of the first questions that I asked her was really about the publishing industry and what one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about the modern day publishing industry. So she did kind of delve into that a little bit. One of the other questions that I have is the difference between self-publishing, independent publishing, traditional publishing. How do people distinguish between those three?
It's tricky, and it really depends on a lot of different factors.
Okay.
So self-publishing obviously is something like Amazon, where you can upload your book. They don't check for accuracy. They don't check for legal issues. They don't check for editing, spelling, anything. They basically instantly lay the book out for you and give you a cover, and you print it.
It's like upload and print, pretty
basically,
much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's super quick and easy. And if you want to just have a book and say you have a book, then that's a good thing to do. Or, you know, if you're looking for a little bit more credibility, then that's a great thing to do, unless the cover is bad and the interior isn't edited at all, you know, and then that's going to decrease your credibility and probably knock your reputation a little bit.
Well, and when you say the interior is not edited at all, I just want to be clear that editing is not proofreading. And so
Yes.
I've had several people say, well, you know, I know a librarian and they're proofreading it for me.
Not the same.
A librarian that's not even what they're trained to do.
Right, exactly. Not at all. Now, and they may have a very excellent concept and grasp of the English language.
Right.
And what some grammar, spelling, punctuation things are. But in the publishing industry, it's very different. We have a specific set of guidelines that we use. I get in arguments all the time with people about Oxford commas, which is something we talked about on the last show.
Yes.
But, you know, Chicago...
Nerd moment.
Yeah. We might nerd out for a minute.
Yeah.
But there's definitely different things that we look for in book publishing that's different even than newspaper and magazine publishing. So we're looking for something very different than what they're looking for. Independent publishing, or what's vanity presses, you know, is pretty much the same thing. You're paying someone to publish your book, and they're kind of guiding you through the process in most cases. And that can range, and that's usually you're paying for self-publishing, and usually you're paying for independent publishing or vanity press or hybrid models. Those are usually things you're paying for, and the royalty amounts can range. Obviously, if you're publishing your own book, you get a royalty amount, but I will say that Amazon takes a lot.
They do take
just
a lot.
so you know.
They do.
They take a pretty high royalty percentage. So if you're thinking about self-publishing, then be aware of that.
Especially their new print book publishing
Yes.
platform. You pretty much have to pay for all of your books if you want any in stock.
So you can do an ebook pretty quick.
Yeah.
But print books are,
Yeah. So when we come back, I want to talk about what it means to actually pay for your book to be published, and how that was in the past stigmatized, but now it seems to be a lot more embraced, as well as predatory publishers.
Yes.
So stay with us, and we'll be right back.
Tweens have mastered the art of tuning out. Jen, there's a spider in the car. We're turning your room into a home gym. See? Nothing. But some messages need to get through. Like making sure they're buckled up the whole ride, every time. Do whatever it takes to make your child listen. Jen, I friended your boyfriend.
Wait, what?
Buckle up, sweetie.
Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Great leaders aren't born, They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Okay, so 5 tacos of cheese and a large soda, that's $10,012. Please drive around.
Wait, 10,000 what?
It's obvious you're buzzed and driving.
I've only had a few. I'm fine.
Yeah, the food's $12, but getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Please drive around. Actually, just park and come in.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Deliberate dumbing down. Dumb down society.
Deliberate dumbing down of America.
Dumb down public. Why would they do this?
Sensation Station Network. Radio, not dumbed down.
I feel like I should be about to sing or something. Welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and we are talking about the publishing industry and writing and all of those great things. And I'm joined by Caroline Smith, who is executive editor of Tandem Light Press, among a lot of other things. But we're just mentioning Tandem Light Press at the moment. But she's a superwoman, so she does a lot of things.
Wearer of many hats.
Yes, wearer of many hats. So we're talking about the industry and just getting an understanding of the difference between self-publishing, independent publishing, traditional publishing, and that was the one you didn't get to.
Yeah, so traditional publishing, typically you go to a publisher and they read your manuscript and they give you an advance. So they give you money up front for what they think the book is going to make.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be anywhere from $500, sometimes less, to $20,000 to $50,000 if you're somebody like Oprah or Tori Spelling or something. And then they base that off of the royalty amount they think you're going to get back. And so sometimes they say, well, we're going to give you an advance, but you don't get any royalties.
Okay.
We're going to keep all the royalties.
Okay.
So you basically get paid for your book, and then they take it over and they get creative control over everything. They get to edit it, they get to do the interior design, they do
the
cover, and the author doesn't usually have much say. And sometimes they will, in the editorial process, have a little bit more say. They get the manuscript back and they can say yes or no. But there's sometimes a lot of change that happens, depending on what needs to happen. Title,
traditionally
yes.
published, and the title, I hated the title, but I had no say.
Yep, because when you sign that contract with them,
Yeah.
you're basically saying, I'm giving you the rights to my book.
Right.
And your name is on it, but they're the ones who are kind of making all of these. You know, then you basically have to show up and say, for book tours and book signings, wherever they tell you to go. A lot of traditional publishing companies want you to come in with at least a $10,000 marketing budget at the very least.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
Expected to pay $10,000 out of pocket,
Yeah.
then you know you're so
Really?
you're not going to
From
get
a traditional publisher?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
But that is also like one of the you know, kind of subgenre categories that they're talking about too. And have. So it can range. It varies wildly, and it
Okay.
also depends on your manuscript, and it depends on your fame and your
Yeah.
level of celebrity. To
Absolutely.
be perfectly honest, if they don't think you have a platform, and if they don't think that you have any market to reach to, if you haven't been working on that on your own,
Yeah.
then they're much less likely to want to pick you up as an author. And usually, most traditional publishing companies, fewer now, but more often than not, require that you go through an agent too.
Right.
So you have to submit
Absolutely.
to an agent before you can even submit to a traditional publishing company.
Right. Okay. So you are you have a book out there. The what is it? Parenting.
Perspective parenting.
Perspective parenting. HarperCollins calls you today, and they say we'd love to pick it up. What do you do?
Let me see the contract.
Okay. There you go.
That would be my very first question. What am I still entitled to as far as, giving you this book and this title? Is it still going to be copyrighted in my name? Is it still, how much royalty percentage am I going to get? All of those questions would pop up. I would not say yes.
Okay.
Even if they dangled dollar signs in front of me.
Yeah.
Until I saw a contract. Because
Okay.
I want to know what's going to be legal and binding and what I still have rights to.
Okay, absolutely. All right. Well, I want to dig into that a little bit more, but first we're going to get into our love notes.
Love Notes with Dr. Pamela.
So this is very reflective of a question that I get all the time. But first, we've got to shout out our sponsor. So Love Notes is brought to you by Write, Pitch, Publish, the Innovative Writers Conference. Meet literary agents, get your manuscript reviewed, learn from experts. This is coming April 7th to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Go to www.writepitchpublish.com for details. That's writepitchpublish.com. So check it out. So our love note today comes from Darius. This is a very common question. We get this quite a bit. Dear Dr. Pamela, I believe that I have a story in me. My life has had some very interesting twists and turns that I believe can help people, but I'm not a writer. So what do I do? Where do I start?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of good answers, actually, for that. The first is you can hire a ghostwriter. So if you don't feel like your writing chops are up to the challenge of actually putting a story out, you certainly have that option to hire a writer to come in and write for you.
Which is costly.
It's very expensive. The least amount I've seen for ghostwriting is about $10,000.
Right.
And the most I've seen for ghostwriting is about $120,000. And that depends on so many different factors, especially things like if it's, you're writing a biography, then that ghostwriter has to go interview your family. They have to talk to your friends. They basically have to find a way to become you so that they can adequately tell the story of your life.
Right.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
For us, it's hard to tell our own story sometimes.
I would have to charge about $120,000 to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, a lot of these ghostwriters travel. I had one that was willing to travel to Mississippi and California to go meet family members that were impactful. And even one of the reasons for California was to go to a reunion to meet all of the different family. That just happened to be happening at the same time.
Okay.
So the other option outside of a ghostwriter is to try to do it yourself and to find an author coach.
Okay.
And these are very similar to life coaches. Not life coach, you life coach. I author coach at Tandem Light Press. And so basically what that means is I help authors through the process of their writing. And I have to shout out to Naisha, who's one of my favorite success stories.
Yes.
She came to us with about 4 bullet points of what she wanted to have in her book. And I did not write it for her. All I did was ask questions and generate thought-provoking ideas for what she wanted to say and how she wanted to tell the story. And so she would write chapters, and then every week she would submit those to me, and I would say, yes, this is good. No, we don't need to worry about this. And then kind of give her feedback on what she was doing well and what we needed to improve on. And then after about 3 months, we had about a 30,000 word book.
That's amazing.
And she was committed, and she was ready to get it done. And we talked every week, and we had an hour phone call every week, and I got to know her and her kids. And of course, this was the story of her life too, so I got to know her really well in this process. And so it was amazingly eye-opening for me, and I learned so much from her.
Yeah.
But hopefully for her, it was also a learning process, because I'm also then trying to teach her the good habits to get into in her writing.
So next time
she knows.
Yeah.
And that's really my goal, is to educate people, and hopefully that's all author coaches' goal, is to educate people on what they need to do for the next time, so that they're set up for success for next time already.
Absolutely.
And author coaching is much less expensive than ghostwriting.
Yes. Yeah. And it's interesting because I actually was going to bring up ghostwriting at some point, so it's good that you brought it up here. I noticed one of the things, Steve Harvey, he's very open about his ghostwriter. Isn't that odd? Or I don't know. It's just...
I think most people don't want to admit it, but maybe he, own it,
He shouted out his ghostwriter, and it's like, oh, you're admitting it, you know? But, and not that it's something to be ashamed of, but if, I got a book with my name on it, I want to take the credit for
Right,
it.
exactly.
So there goes for a reason. But no, it is a very viable option, and they are out there, they do exist. I personally like to encourage people to write their own books. I get that everybody's not a writer, so that may not be possible for everybody, but it is a really good exercise in self-reflection.
Yes.
Particularly if you're writing about life, if you're writing about, yourself, you're pouring yourself into it. So I highly recommend that. I wasn't sure if we got some kind of signal or not. Nope, we didn't. So we're good. So one of the things that I wanted to also get into was the target audience. So a lot of people never think about target audience at any point prior to writing,
that
during
hurts
the
me.
writing. They don't even know that that's a thing. I mean, they may think, well, my target audience is women. I want women to read my book. What do you say to that? Tell these people about target audience.
So that's one of the questions that we ask on our author inquiry form is, who is your target audience?
Yes.
Because that's something I need to know up front. Have you going to read my book?
Right.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Not true. That's one of those other myths of publishing, probably.
Yes.
Because realistically, you need to think about for whom you're writing your book, because that is the demographic that we're going to choose to market to when it goes to marketing. So it's the very same thing. So most of the time, we are our own target audience. So I'm a single mom, so I wrote a book for single moms of more than one child, because I have 3. And so my writing, there is a big difference between, and I see a lot of single moms who, blogs and things for single moms, but it really is geared towards one kid.
Yeah.
And this is different from that. And so target audience really is this bullseye of who are we going to market the book to when the book is finished.
Okay.
And that's something to think about from the very beginning, really before you start writing. Who am I writing? In the same vocabulary and language that we do for a child who's 12 as the same for a child who's 4.
Right.
So if we need to use very explicit language, very different words. We need to have it needs to be shorter. We need to have a different flow to the entire book. So not every child is going to read your children's book.
Right.
And it may be something that a parent can read easily to a child, or it may be that the words are too big, and so they need to be a little bit more advanced.
Yeah.
But the same is true for fiction and nonfiction as well, because not everyone is going to pick up the book. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. That's something important to remember. And so I kind of like to think of it as a bullseye. So the target audience really is the target. So for me, that might be single moms with more than one kid who are between the ages of 21 and 40. That's my target audience. Now, if I reach single dads, then that's just another ring on the bullseye that I've reached.
Right.
Or if I reach single moms with only one kid, that's another ring that I've reached. So those can expand, and you can certainly hit outside of that target, but really those are the people you're speaking to when you're writing the book.
Right.
And often for fiction, it can be the same type of thing. You're writing for yourself. That's usually the easiest one, because you're writing what you would want to read. But if you're writing a women's devotional, then you need to think about the type of women that are going to be reading it. Are they going to be Catholic? Are they going to be Methodist? What are they going to be? And that really has
life experiences.
Exactly.
Yeah, or phase of life.
Exactly.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So, and really important, I would just want to reemphasize to think about this even before you start writing.
Yes.
Because you're writing to that person. And that's one of the things I do. I actually envision a person that I know that's in that group, and I write it to that person.
You're basically having a conversation with them in your book.
Right, exactly. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Well, you'll see what happens. Sensation Station Network.
Welcome. We are in the second hour of the Live Exchange, and we are talking about publishing and writing and just making sure that you really understand the industry, particularly if you're a writer. You want to make sure you understand the industry that you are a part of or that you're trying to be a part of. Too often, we kind of just jump in without really understanding how it works. So I am joined by Executive Editor Caroline Smith, and we are talking all things publishing industry. So the last thing that we were really covering was about target audience and the importance of target audience, and I want you, I guess, to emphasize for them again, why does it matter prior to even putting pen to paper or typing that first letter? Why does it matter to consider target audience ahead of time? Because maybe it evolves as you write.
Usually, for the most part, it's about marketability. But let's think of an example. Like, let's say you're making something, a painting, maybe, and you are going to make it just for yourself. Well, it doesn't matter if it has errors in it. It doesn't matter if anybody else ever sees it or it gets put in the back of a closet, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter. But let's say that you're going to paint it for some giant gallery opening in New York. You may not care who sees it necessarily, but at the same time, you need to know, if you're going to charge $50,000 for this painting and it splotches on a canvas, right? Then you have to know that audience. You have to know that they're going to be interested in that kind of abstract art. Or, in any industry you go into, you need to know who you're servicing, right?
Yes.
So that's no different in the restaurant industry. It's not any different than any service industry, to be perfectly honest. You need to know who your customer is. And really, that's what it comes down to in writing, because if your book is only for you, then and nobody else is going to want to be interested in reading it necessarily.
Yeah.
So you have to make it marketable. This is a business, and people forget that so often.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure we'll talk about that later, but I'll say it right now.
Well, and the thing
this is a business.
Absolutely, and that is actually what will be covered at Write, Pitch, Publish, as well as the Empowered Writers Academy. We have Act Like a Writer, Think Like an Entrepreneur. That one happens in February, where you think about the business side of authorship, and you have to consider your target audience and think about the many hats that you wear as an author from a business standpoint, because it is a business to own a book.
And it's the writing is great, and you can have a book, and that's great, but if nobody knows about it, then that's a big problem, because you're not going to make any money. There will be no royalties. But also it makes it harder for, let's say you use a marketing company or a PR company to help with your book. They're going to need basically an elevator speech and a summary of what this book is about and who it's for. And if you can't articulate that to them effectively, then they're going to throw everything they can at the marketing wall and nothing's going to stick and no book sales are going to happen. But if they can, let's say that your book for some reason would do best in like an independent bookstore, then they need to know, stick it in an independent bookstore. Let's have a book signing there, because the people in this demographic are interested in that.
Like Charis here has a very specific demographic, and if your book fits that, you want your book in Charis. Yeah, you got to pronounce it correctly, I think. But so there's the other thing is that people really, I guess, struggle with the whole idea of, I don't want to think about marketing. I'm not a salesperson. I don't want to do that. But that is one of the things that when people submit an inquiry form with Tandem Light Press, they write about their marketing, their target market, because that document that they send us that asks all these questions about what your vision for your book is, chapter breakdown, target audience, blah, 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 it goes to everybody that works with the book. So it goes to the book cover designers. They need to know the target audience. In fact, we've got somebody working on designing a book trailer right now from one of our authors. And the first thing they ask is, I need to understand the plan. I need to know the target audience. I need the book concept, all of that. So all of those things get asked right in the beginning so that we can distribute it. So, all right, got to go. Be right back.
From the University of Alabama, the Dallas Cowboys, Super Bowl, then prison. The remarkable story of Sherman Williams that you must read to believe. Crimson Cowboy, Peace Between the Lines, is the incredible journey of an NFL star continued road to redemption. You must get this book now at crimsoncowboy.com. crimsoncowboy.com.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Marie Callender's knows that you may not have time to roll out dough for a perfectly flaky crust that's made from scratch, or enough time to mix vegetables with all white meat chicken and a homemade gravy. She knows you may not have a moment to crimp the edges of your favorite chicken pot pie, but Marie Callender's does. And when she's done, all you need to do is find time to grab someone special. Sit down and savor. Marie Callender's It's Time to Savor.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm fleece on a
I
cold
want to be
day.
a football
I want to be
stadium.
a bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Yes. Welcome back to the Live Exchange. Dr. Pamela, this is making me want to be like, ah. Okay, she's not doing it with me. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't even give her a cue. I was just, just kind of jumped into it. No. So we're talking about publishing and just making sure that you guys understand the way that, this industry works. Before you get into it, target audience was a big part of what we just talked about. And so really important that you understand how target audience works. I would also like to get into the legal aspects of publishing, and there's a couple of areas that that comes up quite a bit, and I may have missed some. But one is protecting yourself as an author, basically not having your words stolen and used, as well as not using the works of others illegally and inadvertently. I want to put the lyrics of this song in my book, so I'm going to go ahead and just put them in there. There's actually a process for that.
Yes.
So any thoughts about the legal aspects?
There are so many.
And we probably should get into trending topics first so that we don't get interrupted, and then we can just
let's do trending topics first, and then we'll talk about the legal side.
Okay, so let's look at trending topics.
Trending topics.
So trending, another controversial issue is fashion brand H&M raised the ire of many when it released a racist ad of a young black boy in a green hoodie saying "coolest monkey in the jungle." Now, whether or not it was racist has been, largely people are like, yes, it's racist. His mother is like, I don't know why everybody's making such a big deal about this. So, I will leave room for debate there. But the vast majority of the people that I've spoken to, and have seen, have been like, I think that's a little bit on the racist side. The ad sparked immediate backlash on social media and prompted boycotts of the Swedish retailer. Even one of its celebrity spokesmen, singer The Weeknd, cut ties with the brand, saying that he was deeply offended. The outrage worked and H&M pulled the ad. Now, I had a Facebook friend say, she posted their apology, and honestly, if I had thought ahead, I would have had that here to read, but she said, weak apology. And so I was curious. I said, well, what's a weak apology? I need to know. And her friends kind of responded saying, we want to see people reprimanded. We want to see people held accountable. We want to see we have an apology, but we have no action that's being articulated as a result of what happened here, other than the ad being pulled. What happened in the house? Did people get fired? Were people reprimanded, disciplined, taught, anything? What happened? And so I guess the apology did not include that. And I agree in that case. Definitely we need to see, what kind of action was taken on that. Any thoughts at all?
I might just be best to keep my mouth closed on this one, only because I think that we're living in a day and age where we immediately criticize people for things that I feel like the internet and Facebook has given us an outlet for rage.
This is true.
And so that's
Absolutely.
a completely different topic.
Yes, that would be a good topic.
But
too.
I think that sometimes we get a little irritated about something, and then we post about it, and then people start fueling that fire, and then it becomes way more of an issue than it was ever. It was such an... I'm not saying this was an innocent thing. I'm just saying that sometimes it isn't something innocent. And so then it just kind of catapults and completely becomes this thing, and with so much passion and fire behind it. And not that that's a bad thing. I just wonder if we took that passion and put it in other places, what we would be able to accomplish. But, companies like this are a dime a dozen. So, if you want to boycott H&M and not go shop at H&M anymore, then don't do it. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a personal decision. I mean, we sing "No More Monkeys Jumping on the Bed" in my house all the time. So my children refer to themselves as monkeys. So I
Right.
have, and I completely understand the historical significance of why this is an issue.
Right.
But it would not be something that you know, if that same sweatshirt were on a little white boy, I'm not sure it would have had any of the
It
same
definitely would
criticism
not have
at all.
It definitely would not have. And I think that because it's such a sensitive topic, we immediately, I think that there's probably a whole population of people who would have seen it and been like, oh yeah, it's fine,
Yeah.
whatever. But because it's something that has such, deep, painful roots, and being literally called monkeys at different points in our lives, personally, it's gonna trigger, it's just one of those things that's going to trigger a firestorm of response. And I think that one of my, I agree with you wholeheartedly that the internet has become something that, it's powerful. You want that person to lose their job? Let's create a hashtag,
Right.
and it happens, and there are times when I think that it's necessary. In my opinion, I think it was totally necessary in this case, and there are times where I think it is blown way out of proportion. And I agree, if we could channel that to something that really can truly make a difference, I think that we can do a lot. I think it made a difference in this case, but I wonder the extent to which, I just hope that the people were reflective and really thought about how this impacts people. But I don't know, because they didn't say anything about that.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that in the apology either.
So who knows? But I respect your perspective on that. I think it's important to be able to allow people to have various perspectives on things, because it's going to be based on your experience and your frame and where you come from. And so at the same time, I think it's important for us to be able to hear each other and say, look, you know what? It impacted me, and this is how.
Right, absolutely.
So
well, and it's interesting to me too that his mom didn't seem to have that much of a problem with it.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if that's based on her experience or inexperience, and what kind of pushed her to say, or not pushed, but led her to say, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, well, why don't we put that on some other kid?
Yeah.
I mean, where was the decision with that?
And does her experience not include that particular racial experience?
Exactly.
With So I mean, I would love to sit down with the mom. Oh my gosh, if we could bring the mom on the show, I would love to talk to her, because I mean, people have different experiences.
Yeah.
So.
And it's not like the child had any control whatsoever
None
over
whatsoever.
what he was wearing.
No. And I'm sure she's also feeling very protective of her son. So, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around her mindset. However, I am open to wrapping my mind around her mindset.
Yeah.
If I can hear her story, talk to her, I would love to know, honestly. So, you gotta love it.
We don't all have to agree, and that's a beautiful thing.
And I agree. And I agree with that. We don't all have to agree. Okay, so and this also kind of crosses over into writing. When we think about some of the things that we, our experiences and what we want to put out there and what we want to articulate to the world, the world is not going to agree with everything that we put on paper. And I do struggle with that a bit when I'm writing, and I'm like, ooh, I don't want to offend. I don't want to rub people the wrong way. When I wrote Letters to the Brokenhearted, for example, it was clearly a letter from a woman written to women about a relationship that failed with men. So it left out, and I got this feedback, same-sex relationships. It left out a woman who may have been in a relationship with a woman who, now I felt like it was transferable, but my audience was specifically heterosexual couples. However, I totally, I hope the book can help all kinds of couples, but there's no way to write something that just covers everything and everybody.
You are not cheese, pizza, or bacon. You cannot make everyone happy.
And even bacon can't make everyone happy.
No, it
right?
can't. Not the vegetarians. And the people who are gluten-free can't have pizza.
Yeah, see. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Great leaders aren't born, They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
If you're a single man under the age of 35, you'd probably like to know what the ladies are looking for on an online dating site. A guy who had a few drinks and later got pulled over for buzzed driving. See, that could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And doesn't a guy who's back living with his parents but calls them my roommates just scream Mr. Right?
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the app.
That's sad. Hello, welcome back to the Live Exchange. Caroline just made a really good point that I have to repeat. She said that people don't want to dialogue anymore, that they just want to fight. And I think that's sad but true.
I think people have lost the art of discourse and discussion because, unfortunately, this is one of those things we were talking about on the last show about social media and how it's kind of pervading our lives, is that we just get passionate and angry and we type, what we can, but we don't really think about it. And we don't really take the time to hear what the other person is saying. And that's extremely important and valuable in a civilized human society. And so, civilized.
Right. No, and I do miss that. And gosh, this is like a natural plug. This is why I do Women, Wine, and Wisdom. This is exactly why I do Women, Wine, and Wisdom, because it is a way for me to teach people how to dialogue with each other, how to engage in difficult conversations. When I don't bring speakers in to Women, Wine, and Wisdom to just sit and talk at the audience. Women, Wine, and Wisdom is an actively engaging type of event that allows people to practice difficult dialogues with one another. That's the point.
Because it's hard.
Yeah.
And we don't communicate very well face to face.
Right.
Sometimes we don't communicate well via text.
Right.
Either.
Oh, it's awful via text.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So that is, if I can articulate, one mission that is probably the biggest and most important to me, it is to teach people how to communicate with each other. And it is a lofty task.
It is a lofty task. Well, and the interesting thing, just to segue back into what our topic today, book writing is really no different.
Right.
Because as I said earlier, it really is a conversation. It should be.
Right.
Really good books are a conversation with your reader or a story that you're telling your reader. And so to be effective, you have to sometimes leave out parts or sometimes embellish a little bit.
Right.
Depending on what it is. And you really have to have that dialogue. And sometimes you say things that are uncomfortable.
Right.
And as long as you're within your legal right to do so, then there should be no real issues with that.
Right, exactly. I mean, I have a place where I challenge what people think is a Bible verse. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I might piss off all the Christians. I'm a Christian, but it's not a Bible verse, you guys. When you read that part of my book, you'll know what I'm talking about. And it's a misinterpretation, and I go into clarifying that. Everybody's not going to like it, because a lot of people live by this verse. But you have to be willing to speak your truth and
that goes all back to that authenticity that we talked about last show and earlier, that you really have to be your authentic self.
Right.
And and speak your truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so legal aspects. We talked about, protecting yourselves and not inadvertently using the work of others. We didn't talk about it, but I brought those up. So did you have anything that you wanted to make
So
sure
many
people
things
know?
legally to go through. So again, we talked about the Chicago Manual of Style, and it has a lot of legal issues within that, things that editors should be looking for, red flags when they're going through books. Some of those things are plagiarism issues. So it's very apparent, people think that I don't know, but I know. If you are suddenly writing, you have a voice as an author, and it's as clear as if you're speaking to me. And then all of a sudden, we have this language that comes in that sounds nothing like you and is very academic or has a very different tone.
Right.
And my bells start ringing a little bit like, something is wrong with this.
Right.
So I'll highlight the entire passage and I'll say, is this from you, or do we need to cite this? Where is this coming from? Because it's very abrupt in its change.
Yeah.
And so we want to correct that, obviously, because we have had issues where we've gotten letters for cease and desist because someone plagiarized a book, or they had a co-author and didn't tell us they had a co-author.
Yikes.
And then, we have major issues with that. So do your research, do your homework. Tell your editor if there's something that you think might be an issue, and your editor should look out for that for you as well.
Right. Okay. So we're going to go into the research, and then we'll just come back to legal. So.
In the interest of science.
So this might be more market research than science. However, there is some science behind this that I think is really interesting, and I don't know if this is going to surprise you or not, but I was very happy to find this. This was published in CNN, one of the branches of CNN that looks at the market, and real books are back. E-book sales plunge nearly 20%. Yay!
I had heard this, actually.
I am thrilled. I'm really thrilled. And I was telling my son last night, he's like, why are you thrilled? And I'm like, because, this means that brick and mortar, there may be hope for the bookstores. And
independent bookstores are actually coming back. They're making a huge resurgence. A lot of the big box bookstores are closing because people are turning to, things like Amazon, where books are readily available, but they're getting them shipped to their house rather than downloaded automatically on a device.
Shipped the same day in
many
cases.
Shipped the same, or 2 hours later.
2 hours later. Yes.
It's on demand,
and
literally.
Another thing is, so I needed a book delivered to a city I was speaking in, and I was able to have Amazon deliver it to a locker in that city.
Yes.
And it was like at a gas station. I just go and open the locker once I got it. Was amazing.
Well, not only are independent bookstores coming back, and Amazon is doing good things for print books in general, libraries are also making a huge comeback.
Thank God.
So, yes, we're getting ready in Mike County. We're getting ready to have a huge overhaul, brand new library.
Wow.
I'm so excited. We need it.
Yeah, that's great.
But, people need to read. Literacy is important. And I saw a very startling statistic the other day about the number of people who graduate college and don't pick up another book. Or it might be like 10 over the next 4 decades.
Wow.
Read, people.
Well, the end of this article says, I'm just jumping to the end, that a quarter of the population in this Pew Research study, a quarter of the population had not read a book of any kind, whether in print, electronic, or audio.
Oh, that makes me so sad.
25% of our population.
I know, that's insane
And that's
to me.
probably the people that are loudest on social media.
Yes. And it's a lot of that is bred out of ignorance, unfortunately. Reading makes you smart. Reading educates you. Reading empowers you. Reading gives you knowledge. It opens your world to a whole host of wonderful things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, okay, we have to go to break, but when we come back, I'll give you a little bit of insight as to why the ebook sales are plummeting. Be right back.
I'm so glad.
Me
Although I have
too.
to be honest, right now I'm reading something on my device, and I went and got 6 books from the library, and I have something at home that I'm reading, and I have audio.
Spread it around.
Not that I have time for any of them.
Well, I have some books where I have both versions, an ebook and the print book.
We'll come back. We have open forum.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just open forum for this when we come back from this break.
Cool. Let's see. Benita says, so true, Caroline. No conflict resolution or agreeing to disagree.
Tarsha says, I agree with a tear face.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad we don't talk to each other anymore.
Yep. We talk at each other.
Yeah.
Not to each other. And we don't listen very well.
No. Because when I read the responses, they're not based on what the person previously said. I'm like, this has nothing to do with what the person just
Yeah, it's a continuation of the anger that they have in their head based off of one word or one topic or something. It's crazy. Our world.
Hey, the Meebo, what is the name of the Meebo,
Okay.
name again?
The Meebo name? Because it just went offline.
Oh.
Alright, so what you're gonna do is do this.
Yeah.
So you hit that
She's
really
saying,
slow.
oh, I read this one already. We should consider corrective action in some cases when it isn't malicious.
No, that's if you go to the other one. But we're gonna use red for one. Let me say something.
Oh, okay.
That's if you go to Mevo 32891. If you have a problem with this. But it can
Coming back in 10, guys. Okay.
Now it's time to bring it back.
Awesome mix of urban.
This is an awesome mix.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and I am joined by Caroline Smith, and we are talking publishing. So the last thing we talked about was a study that basically, that just shows that real books are back and ebook sales are plummeting. And from the UK, sales of consumer ebooks plunged 17%. And in 2016, and then sales of physical books and journals went up by 7%. And good news for me personally is that coloring books are on the up, and people like coloring books. Children's books also soared at 16%. The same trend is happening in the U.S., where ebook sales declined by 18%. And let's see. Sales were up overall for print books 7.5% and hardcover 4.1%. So children's books have always been more popular, but there's been an increase in interest in children's books. But what is most interesting to me, and this is where I say the science comes in, is that experts are saying that many people are trying to limit their screen time because what they're experiencing is eye fatigue, and it's just there was a name here that they put. I can't, digital detox, that they attempted a digital detox because it was just, and I know all of you know what we're talking about when we say, I feel like I need to detox from this stuff.
Well, absolutely, yes. And that was one of the reasons that I just went to the library recently, because I'm tired of being on my phone. I'm sick of being on the computer. I'm on one or the other all day. I don't watch that much television, but sometimes. And so, but we're constantly inundated with visual noise.
Yes.
And books to me are a respite for my eyes. And the letters are just so much easier to fall into.
Right. Well, I was wondering what the difference is because, back in the day when I was avid reader, high school, middle school, I remember Roots is this big, and I sat and I read Roots from beginning to end, nothing. And why is that not hard on the eyes the way that looking at a computer for the same amount of time is?
Well, our eyes see and process things so differently from a visual standpoint with digital technology and information. And even from an editorial perspective, I prefer editing by hand. I will always print out a copy of the book. And no matter how much it costs me in paper to print your 120,000 word book or whatever, I'm going to do it because it's so much easier for me to read that way. And my eyes don't get nearly as tired unless I'm reading in low light when I edit. And I catch more errors that way. So if I'm relying on digital only, I'm going to make more mistakes, and I'm not going to see things as easily as I would when I print it out. So I always do that. So for anyone who's ever worked with me and you wonder why it takes so long, that's why. Because I print it out, read the whole thing, edit the whole thing, and then translate all of those changes into the computer. And then I check to make sure that I've gotten everything and that everything's correct.
Right.
But, you know, our eyes just get tired and screens flicker constantly.
Okay.
Books don't do that. So it's kind of wearing out those nerves in your eye a little bit more when you have that. And there's also this new thing, my new Amazon Fire that I got for Christmas. Thank you, parents. I've been reading some Kindle books on there, and it actually has an option to turn to sepia tones at bedtime because blue light is harmful.
And I just recently learned that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a study going around about sleeping with your phone next to your bed and what it does, and it's crazy. But all of these, like, things that are being emitted from our devices and from technology and the blue screens in general, you're supposed to remove yourself from those like 3 hours before bed so that you can actually sleep.
How many of you do that?
I've fallen asleep with my laptop on me before.
Right.
I have done the thing where you're holding your phone and
it
you
falls on your
whack
face.
yourself in the face.
I've done it.
But, you know, books are they don't do that to us.
No.
And somebody, you know, when ebooks first came out, somebody said, well, aren't you worried you're not going to have a job anymore? I was like, absolutely not.
Really?
Books have been around
So
in
you weren't
some.
worried.
Oh no, not
I was
at all.
worried.
No, I was not worried. Books have been around in some form, even if it was on papyrus in the Library at Alexandria, for thousands of years in some form or fashion. So, and honestly, there's no one who can do what I can do from a robotic or AI perspective because you need a human brain to catch the errors that humans make.
Yeah. Contextual.
Yes, and like spell check. Spell check is a great example of a computer trying to do something.
Yeah.
You can use the wrong word, but it could be spelled correct. I like that tangible, physical. I want to feel the pages turning. I want to hear the pages turning. I love the way books smell.
Yeah.
That's like especially old books. That's like one of my favorite smells in the world.
I love it.
The way that it's the tannins in the paper, they start deteriorating with the glue, and they smell so good. Sorry, nerded out there for a minute again. I collect antique books, so part of my house smells like that. But you know, they've always kind of been that solace, and I think I also like looking at a library collection.
Yes.
You know, I love to look and see those are my books.
I want a lot. Yeah, and I have actually, that was the feedback that I got when I did my house on Airbnb. The feedback I got from at least 3 or 4 different people was like, her house is filled with books all over the place. It's like this intellectual, you know, and that just made me feel so good.
Yeah.
It made me feel better than them saying my house was clean. I was like, yes, I have books.
Well, and you can have 120 books on your device, but there's no like, it's almost like a challenge. Like, I've read these, you know, and this is showing that I've read these. But you can't, like, show that off when you have a Kindle or a Nook or a, you know, what tablet or whatever it is that you're reading on.
And it speaks to the home and what's important to the home. And, you know, and I just think that's so important. You can't do that with a Kindle.
No.
So I appreciate this big time that books are making their comeback because I was scared. I really was. So I'm glad. The other thing that I wanted to ask about was the best-selling author. Everybody these days are best-selling authors. Best-selling author, international best-selling author. Seems like every mom and pop author is bestseller these days.
Yes.
So what does that really mean, and what is a true bestseller? We'll talk about that after the break.
Let's do, because that's a long answer.
Okay. We'll be right back.
Great leaders aren't born, they're made. And not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm fleece on a
I
cold
want to be
day.
a football
I want to be
stadium.
a bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
Probably? It's been 23 minutes since I ate. I can probably swim.
You should wait 30 minutes.
Okay, now tell me what to do. Cannonball! Cramp! Oh, I have a cramp.
I can probably hit the green from here.
Probably.
Can I get a mulligan?
Ready to go?
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sober. Yeah, I'm probably okay.
Probably okay isn't okay, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. If you're drinking, call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
People are always looking to invest in a good opportunity. So what if you could invest in the future of kids, like a stock? Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change called Better Futures. With your investment, it helps students like me go to college. My name is Charles, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Keeping your balance with Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela.
Okay, so this week's balance challenge is writers, I want you to study your craft, okay? I want you to get good at it, become an expert at your craft, and that craft is writing, that craft is your genre, that craft is your target audience. So some of the things that you can do to get great at your craft is learn the story of your favorite author, join a writer's group, attend a conference, commit to reading an article about writing per week, read a book in your genre that you've never read, take a class at a community college. That is your challenge this week. I want you to report back and let us know how it went. So, we have another question on the table.
Yes.
Which is about best-selling authors. Everybody's a best-selling author. Everybody's
Yes.
a independent, no, international best-selling author.
Yes.
Okay. So what does that mean, and what is real, what's not real, which matters?
So this is one of those kind of like secrets of the publishing industry, where what happens is, and it's kind of shady actually. What happens is people. So bestsellers are usually often 20,000 books sold within the first week or 2 weeks or month, depending. It depends on the list that you're on.
Okay.
So what will happen?
20,000, not 20.
Not 20. What happens is publishing companies, not ours by any means, no, it's the big ones, the traditional publishing companies for the most part, will pre-sell their own books to themselves. And that bumps up the sales for that author. And so immediately within that first week or 2 weeks, they're an international bestseller or they're a bestseller. But then what happens is they have those 20,000 books, so they sell them to places like Half Price Books or wherever they can sell them, and kind of consign them away to get rid of them. So it's kind of a misnomer. You're not, and sometimes it happens for people like Oprah and Tori Spelling. It often happens. That you get this influx of people who buy your book or have pre-sales for your book.
And it means something when it's those big lists because you get positioned better in the bookstores.
Yes, absolutely.
But then there are these people who nobody knows on Facebook. They have 500 friends and they are an international bestseller.
Yes.
You're not an international bestseller. You're not.
Hate to break it to you.
So, we'll be right back.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm fleece on a
I
cold
want to be
day.
a football
I want to be
stadium.
a bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, and father of 5. I'm also an expert on drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids, and there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org.
And lead the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
Hi, I'm Viola Davis. Did you know that 1 in 5 kids in America struggle with hunger? Growing up, I was one of those kids. But we can solve this. When we make breakfast happen for kids in our neighborhood, we have the power to end childhood hunger, create bigger, brighter school days, and healthier minds and bodies. Go to hungeris.org and lend your time or your voice.
We're hungry for more.
A message from the Albertsons Companies Foundation and the Entertainment Industry Foundation.
This is big business. This is the American
Station Network.
See ya.
Okay, welcome back. So Caroline answered part of the question because that is how the big publishers do it. So what I want to know is what happens when the self-published author who maybe hit the top 50 on an Amazon list on a particular day. Amazon has several lists, like the free book list. They have the list of, the best books in a certain category. And let's say that you hit the top 10 and you were on that top 10 list for about an hour on a particular day. Is it legitimate then to say you're a best-selling author?
I would say yes.
Okay.
And the reason that I would say yes is because you were, even if it was just for a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you're not manipulating those variables and it's naturally occurring that people are buying your book, then to me that means that you've hit a milestone.
Okay.
So even if it falls off, and the reason it's falling off is because Amazon is overwhelmed and inundated with so many books.
Right.
And so those calculations are happening all the time and they're changing constantly.
Right.
But even for that brief moment, you had natural sales, let's
Right.
call them natural sales, of however many at that peak time.
Right. You were on their bestseller list.
Right. And people are legitimately buying the book.
Okay.
There's nothing shady going on there.
So the numbers don't matter because you can have sold 2 books that day, but no other books in your genre did, but you did. So you were best-selling that day.
You were technically that day.
Okay, that's
Now,
good to know.
Maybe you should say like put it in parentheses or something. I mean, I don't know if that's something to necessarily celebrate if there's, one of 2 books, but, I think, so people are taking some liberties with that.
Yeah, it's a sincere question because I see it so often, and I really wonder, are you really a best-selling? Your cover looks kind of bootleg,
Well,
like
that's why people crave that New York Times bestseller. Not that, but that's the list that I'm talking about mostly, where they,
An Amazon list is really, that's a great list too.
Yes.
I think I agree with you. If you made that list, that's a pretty big deal, and that's something to celebrate.
Yeah.
But I just know good and well some people have said they're not. They're I don't know.
Well, and sometimes it's hard to check. Like, how do you verify that?
Right.
I mean, you can for the New York Times
screenshot
bestseller
it.
list.
Yeah.
But if you're saying it, you're a bestseller.
Right.
How do I know?
And anytime I have ever mentioned being on the bestsellers list, I've always attached the screenshot. Like, look, this is like for real.
Legit.
Like, I really did hit the number 1, and I have, and I've hit the number 1. And one of the things that I think it's important for us to really consider is integrity in the whole process, because faking it and lying about it, at the end of the day, people are going to read your book.
Yeah.
So, are we done? No. Okay, we're just going to break.
Good.
We'll be right back.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it, and it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and He'd guide us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
Oh, long time no see. It's me, the Rock t-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I could really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Picture book. I'm yours. Hello, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and we are talking about publishing, and we have to get the integrity of publishing in here because there is a lot of issues with integrity in the publishing company. Go ahead.
So really briefly, just some things to look out for. If you go to a publisher and they don't know what the Chicago Manual of Style is, run away very quickly.
Run away.
Or if you hire an editor who doesn't know what that is, run away very quickly. Because that immediately tells me that they have no idea what they're talking about.
Okay.
If you ask questions about book sizes and they can't immediately give you some of the most common standard book sizes, run away. Because what we see very commonly happening now in the age of digital technology, which is a blessing and a curse, is that anybody who wants to can start a publishing business. But a lot of times what that means is they start a publishing company, charge you run with all of your money because it doesn't take that much to publish something like that on Amazon.
I was just on the phone with somebody 2 days ago who said that she's looking for a new publisher because her publisher disappeared. Website disappeared.
It happens
She paid all this money.
the time because there's no like not conference, but what's the word? Like a professional society or organization.
Code of ethics.
Yes.
Yeah.
For publishers and editors.
Yeah.
There's not one that exists in the United States.
No, there's the Independent Book Publisher Association.
Right.
And I think it's good to check to make sure that they're members of
Members of that,
There's
yes.
Women in Publishing, which we're members of
Yes.
as well. So looking to make sure that they're attached to larger entities, I think is really important as well.
Ask questions. And if you're unsure of what questions to ask when you're shopping around for a publisher, ask someone who's either published before or I'm even happy to sit on the phone with you for a few minutes and be like, no, don't do that. I'll read over the contract or the agreement that they send
And we've
you.
done that.
We have done that before and say, no. Now, of course, we want you to use us, but in your own best interest, you need to know what they're asking you for and what they're entitled to and what they could potentially run away with because it happens. How many times have we heard that over the years?
Yeah.
So many.
So often, yeah.
Most people come to us and they say, well, this publishing company charged me $10,000 and they didn't do anything. They sat on my book for a year and a half.
And we're like, we're not charging enough. What are we doing?
Well, not only that, but we could have had it done by now.
Right, it could have been done. And
exactly.
then that's the other question about charging. When you know, there's a stigma. There has been a stigma about paying to get your book published. It must not be good enough if they don't pick it up. What are your thoughts about that?
I think that used to happen, especially when we had like the uppity Big Seven in New York, and like New York was the only place to get published.
And I was of that mindset too, totally.
But it's changed so much now, and there are so many people that have found success with self-publishing and independent publishing, and have been very successful.
Right.
So I think because of that, it's not as hush hush as it used to be.
Right. Yeah.
So do it.
So do it. It's okay to do it. It's not stigmatized. There have been many successful books that have gone that route.
And you may self-publish the first one and then find a traditional publisher for your second one.
And they may pick up the first one too. Yeah. So, all right, we've got to wrap it up. So those of you who want to hear more, we can go on and on and on. We've got Write Pitch Publish happening in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on April 7th. We've got the Empowered Writer Academy happening this week or next week on January 7th. So thank you
20th.
January 20th. I don't know what I said, but thank you so much for tuning into the live exchange where we could exchange compelling dialogue around love, politics, and intellect. Join us next Thursday from 11 to 1 right here on the Sensation Station, where I will be joined by licensed professional counselor Dr. LaCleisha Izzard to discuss burnout, stress, and compassion fatigue. We all need to talk about this.
Good show.
I'm Dr. Pamela, and remember, love yourself to life, dance confidently in the dark, and dream wildly unrealistic dreams. Have a great week.
Sensation Station Network.
Wow, okay. Looks like you got your beef and your biscuit stuck down there. It's gonna be okay. I've been through it too.
I got so much for you.